Hello, my name is Jay. Welcome back to the floor of my living room, and we're going to talk about how my language learning went in January 2023. So to start off, Spanish. That's my priority language this year, so that's where we're going to start. And the fact that it was my priority language is my priority language. That was very evident this month because I actually went beyond what I needed to for my yearly goal in Spanish this month. I made a little personal goal to reach the milestone of 50 hours in 1 month in January, and that was also going to get me, more or less, it was going to get me to 150 hours in total. And so I decided that was what I was going to try to do in January. It's not the pace that I'm planning to continue to go at, but I thought I would harness the motivation of being at the beginning of the year and try to show myself what I was capable of at the beginning, so that as I moved forward into the coming months, I knew that I had been able to take on a big goal and I had been able to conquer it. So I did, just a little bit of an explanation here actually. So I did do the 50 hours and I did hit 150 hours on the Dreaming Spanish platform. So Dreaming Spanish is one of the resources that I use. It's the primary resource that I use for Spanish right now. And on the platform, you can track the amount of time that you're spending with the language. So as you watch videos, it will track your watch time, and if you do other activities, you can record that time into the platform manually. So I record my time in two places. I record it on the Dreaming Spanish site, and I record it separately in my my Google Sheets tracker that I've set up. And on the Dreaming Spanish website, as I said, it records your watch time. So just depending on how much time you have spent watching the video overall, it will note that as your time. Not the entirety of every video is actually Spanish language coming at you. There's a little theme music at the beginning. Sometimes when there are multiple people, there will be a break of time where people are laughing very hard. And sometimes when there are videos where pictures are being drawn, there'll be a couple of seconds here and there where nobody's talking and drawing is happening. Now, seconds here and there, I don't usually pause my timer for, but I do pause if it's been more than a few seconds, and it's not a big deal, but I am really interested in what that difference is, so I do record the time for myself separately for my Google tracking, and then Dreaming Spanish does its own automatic tracking. I do it manually. And so on Dreaming Spanish, I did reach over 50 hours, and I managed to hit 150 hours, which put me at level 3 of Dreaming Spanish. So it's put me into the next level. That doesn't actually open up any new content or anything like that, but it's just a way of tracking where you are in their breakdown of the levels. So I did manage to hit those milestones on Dreaming Spanish, and I consider that good enough. That was what I was aiming for. I wasn't aiming to hit that necessarily on my tracker, so I'm not concerned about that. That being said, it's a bit of a bummer because in my tracker, and I realized this too late on January 31st, I reached 49.56 hours, which is just so close. It's just so close to 50, and it feels like 2022 where I hit 99 hours of Spanish. I was just so close to being at the milestone, but it is what it is. I still did a really great job with Spanish in January. I was feeling really good about it. I think my comprehension has gotten a lot better, and I think it will just continue to do so. I've moved into the intermediate content on Dreaming Spanish, and I am listening to the How to Spanish podcast, which I think is classed as an intermediate podcast. I have no issues understanding the How to Spanish podcast. For the most part, with the intermediate Dreaming Spanish videos, I don't have any issues. It's definitely a little bit more difficult to understand than the beginner videos, but that's fine. It's not to the point where I'm not getting the messages. But I do think now that we are into February, I'm probably going to subscribe to the premium version of Dreaming Spanish, because that will give me access to a little bit more super beginner and beginner content, which I think is just good. It's good to listen to things that are easy, because it gives you a lot fewer new words and concepts that you need to be integrating every time that you listen to something or watch something. And then on top of that, now that I'm into the intermediate content, the premium version is going to be really useful, because for super beginner and beginner, the majority of the content is available for free, but for intermediate and advanced, there's still a ton available for free, but a lot more of it is in the premium section. So I think that's all I had to say about Spanish. I said, I think, quite a lot about Spanish there. Giving my notes a quick scan. Yeah, I think I said everything I needed to about Spanish. So I also think I did say at the beginning that I am not planning to keep this pace up. This was for January. Now I'm going to scale it back. I still expect to be doing, let's see, I think 33.5 hours per month was going to keep me on track. So I'm still planning to do more or less that, a little bit more than an hour per day, but that's Spanish. Let's move along. We've heard about Spanish now. Persian. How is Persian going? January was devoted to Spanish, and that's fine. I made that choice very actively. I did do a little bit of Persian and an even smaller amount of Korean this month, but they are going to be picked up. In particular, Persian is going to be picked up in February. So for Persian, I did, let's check the notes here. I did 2 hours, and I was going to say 2 hours and 7 minutes. 2.07 hours. That is how much I did in Persian. And that is well below the, I think, about 13 hours that I was planning to do. I'm not concerned about that because, as I said, I made the conscious decision to do a little bit less or a lot less in Persian and Korean in January to focus on Spanish. But from here on out, if I do 13.5 hours per month in Persian, I'll still be on track to hit my yearly goals. And I'm actually planning to do more than that in Persian, at least for the next couple of months. We have some guests coming in the summer. My partner's relatives are going to be visiting, and so I would like to work on my Persian more actively even than my goal had been. So I would like for the month of February through May, it's 4 months, right? I would like to try to do 25 hours per month. So we'll see how that goes. I think the biggest obstacle for me is going to be finding Persian content that I can spend that much time on that's at my level. I'll talk about that in a different video, maybe, although hopefully by the time I get around to it, it won't be that relevant. But to briefly touch on it here, there are real gaps in the material I've been able to find for Persian. So I found stuff that's really, really basic beginner, mostly not comprehensible input, but some of it is. And then I found stuff that's much more intermediate, but bridging that gap is something that I think is a bit tough to do, at least with what I've been able to find. So I guess trying to find a way to bridge that gap, because there's just not enough beginner content. There's a lot more available once you're well into the intermediate stage. So trying to get myself up to that intermediate stage, then I think I have enough to actually meet my goals. But in this beginner stage, I'm a little bit concerned I won't be able to find enough. But for now, we're not gonna worry about that. We're just gonna try. And if it doesn't work, then I will be reporting back next month, but that's the plan. So 25 hours in February of Persian. And so how did Korean go? Korean did not go well. Again, I knew that I wasn't gonna be keeping up with my goals for Persian and Korean in January. That's fine. But Korean, it felt particularly bad about it because I did less than an hour. I did less than 45 minutes. My phone is gonna die. Give me a second. Okay, I I tried to plug that in without shifting things around, but if it's a little bit shifted, then enjoy the new the new perspective. So I did less than 45 minutes of Korean in January, and when I reached the end of January, I did not feel good about that. I still don't feel good about it, but I have, over the first couple of days of February, spent more time on Korean. I think I've spent maybe 3 hours, and we're on February 5th. And you know what? Honestly, I'm starting to feel more motivated with Korean, and so I'm feeling less badly about how January went. I am basically trying to hit my higher Spanish goals now and hit an increased Persian goal. And so I don't think it's a good idea to say, oh, I'm really motivated with Korean now, I'm gonna try to do a whole bunch. But I do think now I feel much more able to meet the goals that I set out at the beginning of the year, which are very modest goals. They're not gonna be difficult goals to hit. So hopefully when I get into later in the year and I'm not putting that focus on Persian, I can ramp up my Korean a little bit. But this is the first time I've really even felt like I'm gonna be able to reach my Korean goals. I felt so detached from Korean for a while there. And so yeah, I mean, my actual January update is that I felt kind of bad about it, because sure, I was okay leaving Persian and Korean to not do so much with them, but I still wanted to actually at least feel like I had done something, and I really hadn't done anything in Korean essentially. But I'm feeling a lot less bad now, because I feel like there is some momentum there. There's some feeling that I actually can do this. And I also have a strange thing with Korean where I get in my head that I just don't know any Korean, and that's not true. I've been watching comprehensible input content and understanding the vast majority of it. So that also, I think, helped build my confidence. And yeah, so my goal now, I think I need, 6.25 hours per month. I needed at the start of the year. And so I think I'm gonna aim for 7 hours a month. That's what I put in my notes, and I trust yesterday me that I did the math right. So 7 hours per month, or 7 hours in this month, I guess, is what I've put, because I'd like to eventually be doing more than that. But this month, 7 hours is basically nothing. I actually do think there's a good chance that I'm gonna do more than that, but I'm not going to extend all of my goals above where they were at the beginning of the year when I didn't hit 2 out of 3 of them in January, right? So that just makes sense. Okay, so January, what did I focus on specifically for each language? Just a really brief overview. For Spanish, mostly Dreaming Spanish, and I started the How to Spanish podcast, and that's all I have here. So I might have done a little bit of other stuff here and there, but those were the primary things that I used. Then Persian, I basically just use Persian language online, and that's something I'm going to eventually make a video about Persian resources that I'm using, but I will link Persian language online down below just in case you clicked on this because it came up when you searched Persian learning or something like that and you're interested now. I really like Persian language online, so that's all I used in January. And then for Korean, I use the Talk to Me in Korean Real Life Korean Conversations for Beginners. So I don't have the book. I do have the intermediate. Well, now I've shifted everything. I do have the intermediate version of the book, and I don't own the beginner version, but the audio, just audio only, is available for free on Spotify and also on the Talk to Me in Korean website. And so I went through that first. I am gonna jump into this one later, and probably just since my focus is on the comprehensible input part, I'm gonna skip over the notes they have where they go over patterns and things like that. And I'm just gonna use the transcriptions of the dialogues and listen to the dialogues. But I haven't started that yet, obviously. And then I also use the beginner Iyagi series for Korean. So I was feeling really hesitant with Korean to jump into more intermediate content because I haven't been feeling very good about my Korean. So I decided to just start with beginner content to give myself a bit of a boost. But with those things, I did spend, as I said, less than 45 minutes total on them. So it didn't really give me a boost of confidence. Not really, I felt very neutral about it. They were perfectly good. But as I said, the thing that actually has given me a bit more confidence has been doing a bit more comprehensible input stuff at the beginning of this month. I'm sure you just heard the heater turn on. I think that might be my my cue to go. And if you didn't hear the heater turn on, then that's fine. Me reacting to it was probably the sign that I should go. Before I go, really quickly, so in February, the plans that I have for Spanish are to go through the remaining Spanish with Alma videos. So I didn't mention this. Alma, she's one of the teachers on Dreaming Spanish, and she has her own YouTube channel where she did more beginner videos, and I had been going through them, get Dreaming Spanish Premium and go through a bunch of their premium videos, continue with How to Spanish, and consider starting an audiobook. Okay, now I'm just not even looking at you, I'm reading. Trying. This is gonna be very strange if you can't hear the furnace going in the background, but that's fine. Persian, continue with Persian language online, go through Persian Pod 101's absolute beginner and beginner listening videos. The only thing with those is I find that the voice is a little bit strange, and it's fine, but I don't feel like it sounds as natural as other types of listening that I have been doing. Try Persian PodGap again. So that is a podcast that I had really briefly looked at a year and a half ago, maybe even earlier than that, but I hadn't gone into it very much. So I just want to see how it is. I think in the beginning they do quite a bit of teaching grammar points, but they do get into more comprehensible input stuff later, or more conversational stuff, I guess. Look into Persian conversation site. So that's another site that I have heard good things about, but it's a paid site, and I think a lot of the stuff is intermediate, so I don't want to start paying for things that are intermediate until I feel ready to approach the intermediate content. And then for Korean, keep watching comprehensible input channel videos. I found a ton of them when I started looking at the beginning of February, and so I'm just gonna kind of check out different ones and see which ones I like, but the ones I've been going through so far I've really liked. Go through textbook dialogue audios, because I do have a number of different textbooks that came with audio, so I figure I may as well see if the quality of the audio is quite good, because it's, you know, it's a textbook you pay money for, so presumably it has good quality audio. And then go through Talk to Me in Korean, go through one of the courses. So it doesn't have to be a specific one, but go through one of their premium courses, since I am paying for their premium program. So I may as well get my money's worth by going through their well put together courses. Okay, I am gonna end here because now I am starting to rush. So I hope that you've enjoyed this update. Let me know how your language learning went in January 2023, or if you have any thoughts about mine. If you are wanting to give me a kick in the butt and tell me to get moving on Korean, I get that. Me too. I would like to do that too, but it's very difficult to kick yourself in the butt. So I'm gonna go. Bye.